So we are in book number 6 within the Madras series, and this book is Secret Love. And this deals with, it's so fitting because this deals with Jacob Madras, aka Jake Madras for short. He is the uncle of Dex, Clayton, and Justin, and his love interest is Diamond Swain. Now, of course, you know about these two characters if you've been keeping up within the series. So, Jake Madras, he is 43 years old and he has, I think, 5 brothers, or it's 5 of them all together. Now, one of their brothers are deceased, and his name was Robert, and he lost his life when he went to Vietnam. But his other brothers are Jonathan, Lee, and Milton. They are all married, and of course, they have children. So he has a lot of what would that make them, his nieces and nephews and all of that. And he doesn't have any kids of his own as of yet, but that's who he is. Now, he is a rancher. He's into that rancher lifestyle, the whole livestock and the cows and branding them and looking after them and horses. And he has all this field and this land, and he deals with that 24/7. And he really likes that lifestyle. Now, he's not no dummy. Like, that's not all he knows. He's into the stock exchange. He's very stock savvy. He's a great investor. He knows about investments and things as such. So he's pretty multifaceted, and he's very intelligent and he's smart and he's all these great things. And so that's what he does. That is his life. And he has a property in which he calls that property Whispering Pines. And that is his baby, that is his wife, that is his love, and all of that. And speaking of wife, he was once married, and he was married to this woman named Jessie. But I believe that was I want to say 5 to 10 years ago now that he was married to her. So he's been divorced for about 10 years. And now, his wife, she was, at first, she pretended that she was with that life. She was about that life, She was interested in that rancher's lifestyle and living far away in this country, so to speak, far away from, the city. But she's a city girl. So she's used to something entirely different, a whole different lifestyle. And she pretended because he had a little money, and then the brother is fine. He's tall, he's athletic. Oh, the way this brother get down, like, he is a manly's man. Like, he is just, oh, he is so sexy. And out of all the guys that I've read about, oh, Jacob, oh my goodness. Jake Madras is so sexy and such a take charge type of man. And reading about him, I was like, yes, I like him the most. Out of every character I have read, I like his style the most. And so, but yeah, she was trying to pretend like she was interested in him because he had money, and then he was fine. But after a while, she just didn't like that lifestyle. She was just accustomed to something entirely different. And so that didn't work out. Eventually, she ended up hating the place, and he even tried to make this house for her to make it more comfortable to her liking. And he did. He built this house for her, this nice little cabin, and he decked it out and made it look luxurious and just everything for her to try to make it as comfortable for her as possible. But that didn't work. And so she ended up leaving him or whatnot. So, yeah. So he kind of has like this chip on his shoulder. And then, of course, she was fine. She was beautiful. She was, you know, not snobbish, but kind of a little bit. She was just very sophisticated. Let me just say that. So he had like this preconceived notion of pretty girls and sophisticated girls and things as such. So he's been divorced now for about 10 years. But over the years, of course, don't think that he was just staying inside and not getting any. He actually had this woman with whom he was having relations with, and she kind of like was on his same wavelength and on his same page with as far as like not going any further than just having sexual relations. So he was doing it with her for a while, but they never crossed that line to get serious. So that was a great agreement and understanding. So yeah, that's pretty much his life. He enjoys what he does. So that is him. Now, Diamond Swain, she is 31 years old and she recently divorced. And she divorced about a year ago. So she's now, single or whatever. But she was married to this dummy named Samuel Tate. Now, he was a race car driver and they met at a fundraiser for AIDS awareness. But he was very possessive, he was overbearing, and he was insanely jealous. And he had gone so far to pay someone to spy on her. So he was just doing way too much. And then besides, he was like insanely insecure about her relationship with Sterling Hamilton. Now, her and Sterling Hamilton, of course, you guys know that they are best friends, close friends, and only friends. They never cross the line to have something more. They're just friends. But at the time when she was married to Samuel, he didn't understand their friendship, so he didn't like that too much. So he tried to sabotage their friendship and all of that good stuff. But what ended up happening, this nut ended up having an affair on Diamond. And the girl who he was having an affair with was 16 years old. And plus, on top of that, he had impregnated her. So that was pretty much it. So while you trying to spy on me, she needed in fact to spy on him because he was up to no good and just sleeping around on her. So yeah, so she's now she's not married anymore. She's single. But she had her hang-ups because her father is Jack Swain. And her father is 72 years old. And he is a movie producer, I think. Yeah, a movie producer or something like that. Now, he was married to this woman named Nell, which isn't Diamond's mother. This is somebody before he met Diamond's mother, and he was married to this woman named Nell for 10 years, and that was the love of his life. He was in love with her and everything like that, but after 10 years of marriage, he had ended up getting cancer, and he lost her. So when he lost her, that kind of like did something to him. He never wanted to get close to anybody again, so to speak, or he couldn't really love like that on that type of magnitude and level. So well, at least he thought he didn't have it in him to do it again. But of course, a year after his wife had died is when he met Diamond's mother, which is Emerald. Now, Emerald, she was an aspiring actress and she wanted to be an actress or whatever. And at the time when they met, she was 24 years old and he was 40. So he tried to make it work, of course. Through that marriage, they conceived a child, which is Diamond Swain. And they only had one child. But after a year of being married to her, which he shouldn't have quickly married her because that was only a year ago that he had lost his wife. And then he marries 1 year later after that. That was too quick. So I kind of feel like that was a rebound situation. And he didn't have time to heal from that. So he kind of like hopped into that too quick. So he didn't love her at all. So he decided after a year of them being married, and of course, they had their child, that he no longer wanted to be married because he just wasn't in love with her. So he decided to get a divorce after the year. But her mother kind of like tried to blackmail him and use Diamond as a token to try to get him to do whatever he wanted she wanted him to do, but it just didn't work because she knew that he really loved his daughter. So she tried to use her as a trump card, and it just didn't work. So um yeah, so her mother is single, and then her father, she just didn't have a good example because after that, she grew up, of course, she stayed in touch with him, she loved him, but by the time that she was 22, Diamond was 22, her father just kept remarrying and remarrying and remarrying. And he was actually on his fifth marriage when she was 22. So she had this hang up about love. Anyway, but she ended up meeting that jerk Samuel Tate and married him, even though she didn't have a good example being set. So whatever. This Negro, he was on his fifth marriage. Of course, you know how that went. That didn't go too well. And so now that he's 72, he's actually working on his sixth marriage. And the girl that he's interested in marrying for the sixth time, she is young enough to be his daughter. So, I don't know. Now, yeah, so that is a little background of Diamond Swain. Of course, you know that she's a popular actress, very well known, and everything like that. She's a movie star. Now, how this came about, Diamond had been working a lot, like extremely heavily, and she was on the verge of suffering from exhaustion, I believe, and the doctor ordered her to take 3 weeks off. Like, she needed to take 3 weeks off, no more working, no more paparazzi, no more nothing. You just need a break because your body is about to break down. And so, of course, with her and Sterling being close, and then Sterling is also close to Jake Madras. Now, whenever Sterling needed to get away and kind of like hide out, he would go to Whispering Pines, which is Jake Madras' property, and he would just hide out on that property. And the paparazzi didn't know anything. This is a very secluded, private place that don't nobody know about, except for Sterling and, of course, Jake and his family and things like that. But the paparazzi and all of that, they don't know anything about this location. So whenever Sterling wanted to get away and hide out, he would go on Whispering Pines to go hide out. So when Diamond gets orders from her doctor to take a break, of course, Sterling kind of like gives her the nudge, like, you know what, you should go and stay on Jake's property. So anyway, he ended up asking Jake, hey man, I want to ask you a favor. Would you do something for me? And of course, Jake was like, what is it? I'll do anything for you, because they are close. He was like, Diamond actually is having some problems and she needs some time off. And I was just wondering if, you could let her stay on the property to chill out for about 3 weeks. And of course, Jake was like, okay, who? And he told him who it was. It was Diamond Swain. He was like, oh gosh, like, no, like, I don't want some prissy actress, spoiled little actress, little sophisticated diva on my property. I don't know about this. And then I just don't know if that's a great idea. And of course, his workers, because he has a lot of workers that help him deal with the livestock and all of that on his property. He said she might be a distraction to them, to keep them from their work. But he was trying to protest a little bit, and then, of course, he gives in. So Diamond comes to Jake's property, and she steps off of the private jet, and Jake sees her, and she sees Jake. First of all, when she seen this Negro, she was like, this Negro is so fine. But of course, he's used to her, and he thought that, wow, like, to see someone on camera like on television, it doesn't do it justice when you see them in person. And when he saw her in person, he was like, dang, she is so fine, even more finer in person. And so they both instantaneously have this attraction towards one another, and they're really liking what each other see. And he, although he's kind of like having flashback, because when he looked at her, he was like, oh gosh, this is going to be like very similar to my ex-wife, Jessie. It's going to be very similar to that. And I just don't got time for that. He was having that in the back of his mind, but he was shocked at how warm and polite she was. And he was like, oh, he was taken aback by that. She was very warm and polite just because he thought that she was going to be totally different. And so he's shocked or whatever. And so when she gets on his land and she's looking around at how beautiful the land is, and the smells of the green fresh grass and the flowers and things like that, and just how private and secluded it was, she instantaneously fell in love with this property. She was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And he was taken aback because his ex-wife Jessie, she hated that ranch. Although she tried to pretend at first that she loved it, she really hated it. And he was kind of like shocked that that was her initial response to the property that he loved so much. He was like, wow. And so he's showing her around or whatever, and he takes her to her cabin, and she goes into the cabin, and it's so beautiful. It's just decked out so beautifully. He's just kind of like tickled at her response to how beautiful it is. And she was like, oh my gosh, did you build this? Because he actually built that cabin. He was like, yes, I built this cabin. And she was like, wow, it's very beautiful. He said, yeah, I actually built that for my ex-wife, Jessie. She was like, oh, wow. So, I mean, she didn't want to get into the details of why she's his ex-wife. So she's just taking it all in. And he's taking in that she is appreciative of it and just shocked that she is responding this way, because Jessie, he couldn't get her to even respond in that manner. And so he was like, well, you're all settled in. He was like, here's the number. If you need to call me, it's going to be quite a ways, because like where he stays, because that's a cabin he built for his ex-wife, but where he stays, it's kind of like, it's not that far, but you would have to drive your car to get to him. You just couldn't just like walk out and just immediately be up on his property. So it was kind of like a ways away, but not that far. It probably would take like 2 minutes, but if you were to walk, it'd probably take about 5. But anyways, he was like, well, you can call me if you need anything. You can call me, and I will just come to you. Don't try to walk. I can drive to you, because, it's just not good for you to walk. And she was like, thank you. So he leaves. But when he left, he was just thinking like, dang, she is so fine. And she was thinking the same thing or whatever. And she's just taking in the cabin, and she was just loving everything about it. She was just so tickled pink. And so he retires and goes in, and then of course the guys on the ranch started talking and saying, hey, we saw Diamond Swain on the property or whatever. And of course he tells them, yes, but you guys need to relax and be cool or whatever. Y'all not gonna have nothing to do with her. She's gonna be at the cabin. You're not even gonna have no interaction with her, so don't worry about it. And he was like, oh, whatever. So anyways, because he didn't think that she wasn't going to leave the cabin, because remember that she is there to relax by doctor's orders. So he don't think that she would like to engage with anything that has to do with the ranch life. He thought that she was just going to stay there, and he maybe periodically may have to call to check on her or give her something that she needed, because he wasn't expecting her to take a liking to that ranch life. So anyways, the next day she calls and he was like, yeah, what can I do for you? And she was like, I was interested in, I would like to look around and tour around or whatever and look at the property. And she was like, well, is that okay? Do you have time to take me around? And he was shocked. He was like, well, okay. So anyways, he comes and he takes her around, and she's getting into looking around and liking everything that she sees. And she noticed these beautiful roses on the property. And of course, that kind of pissed Jacob off, because every time he looks at those roses, he thinks of his ex-wife, Jessie, because she's the one who planted those beautiful roses there when she was there. So it was a constant reminder of her. But he couldn't deny that it was beautiful. It was beautiful how it looked, the roses looked, and how much they lasted on the property or whatnot. So he was looking at her, enjoyed that, and she was picking all of these berries off the trees, and he was like, what are you trying to do with all those berries? And she was like, I'm thinking to make a pie, a few pies or whatever. And he was like, oh, really? He was like, so you can cook? She was like, I dibble and dabble, I can bake or whatever. So um she was like, but yeah, I can cook. And she was like, would you like to come in and I could cook something or whatever? And he was shocked by that. And so she's making dinner or whatever, and they're making small talk, and he's beginning to see that her whole persona and her whole character and demeanor is very nice and very warm and friendly. Like, it's totally opposite than what he had imagined. Like, she's not a diva. She's very humble, very modest, and it's just a overall beautiful person, not only just so much on the outside but on the inside. So he's starting to think like, dang, this is going to be harder to have this woman on my property. She's going to be here for 3 weeks. I don't know. Like, I got to stop. And then he started looking at her, and he started noticing, like, she's got to be, like, because he's 43. And he was thinking in his mind, like, he don't know how old she is, but he was thinking, like, she's got to be about 11 years or 12 years younger. So he tried to push the thoughts out of his mind, but he could tell that there was an attraction there. And she kind of was like giving him a hint that she was attractive, that she was attracted to him. But I don't know, he was just trying to fight it because he had his reservations because of his ex-wife, how she did him. And so it's just this, oh my gosh, these two, like, when they would interact and talk to each other and look at each other, I could tell this, when they were going to be intimate and have sex, it was going to be so good. I already knew because I could tell just by reading about their story. It's like, it's just so much chemistry, even coming through the words that I was reading between them. He is just, and he's so, what I like about Jake is that he's so forward and he's so direct, and he really kind of don't beat around the bush. He like says what's on his mind. And I was like, this brother, I like him. I like his style. So anyways, they have their dinner or whatever, and he said, well, it's getting late, so I'm going to go back. And she was like, okay. And so he goes back. But when he gets back in the house, he started thinking about her sexually, and because what she had on, it was just tight form fitting, and it was just showing all her curves and her body. She was just looking good, And he was just thinking about that, like, dang, this woman she's nice. And then she's taken a liking to my property. And there's chemistry, and we're attracted to each other. And she cooked. And she was everything that his ex-wife wasn't. And so, so as promised, she bakes 10 pies because she wanted to meet the boys. And she had actually mentioned it to him, and he said, yeah, that'll be fine, because she wanted to meet them or whatever. And so he comes back the next day, and he's helping her with the pies that she baked. He was like, "Ooh, it smells so good." They put the pies in the car or whatever, and they're driving to his property, and he's just looking at her, and she's looking at him, and they both know what time it is. They're both kind of like straight shooters, and she was letting him know in so many words, "I know you want me." And he was letting her know, like, "I kind of do want you, but I need to stay focused here." But she wasn't having any of that. And she was just saying, "Jake, you're a very good looking man or whatever. And I know that there is an attraction here. So why are we fighting it?" And he was just shocked at how bold and straightforward she was. That turned him on even more. And he was just trying to focus. He was just trying to focus and play hardball or whatnot. He wanted her. He really did. And he kind of admitted, he was like, "Yeah, there's something here, but it just won't work because I have a feeling that it's just something about you." He was just telling her, "It's something about you that I know that I would want more of." He said, "If I were to sleep with you, I know I would want more." Ooh, this nigga. I said, I just like his whole style. Like, oh, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to want more of you." And that turned her on instantaneously. Like, she just melted. But they didn't say anything. So they go up to the property, and she goes in with the pies. And of course, when she comes in with the pies, like, all the men, all his workers were just like, they were shook. They was like, they were speechless because, first of all, this is an actress, a movie star, a well-known movie star who they watch on TV, who all the men love her. She's just fine. She's gorgeous. And they're just shocked that she's in the kitchen she made pies for them and she wanted to meet them. So they just shook or whatever. And then, after that wears off, they just get down to her being they get down to knowing about her, like how warm she is and how inviting her personality is and how humble she is. They really took a liking to her because they was expecting her. I don't know if they were expecting her to be like this snob or brat or just stuck up or whatever. But when they found out how cool and down to earth she was, they kind of like relaxed, and she really appreciated them, and she was just thanking them. She was like, "You guys, it's so beautiful around here, and the upkeeping is wonderful, and he has a great staff." And she's just making a wonderful impression on everybody, and everybody just love her, and they took a liking to her. And so when he sees that, he gets even more. He's just, oh gosh, like, this is everything he wanted. And so it's time to say goodbye. So he takes her back up to the cabin or whatever. And when he drops her off, she just lets him know, like, I want you. And he lets her know that too. And they shared this kiss. Oh my gosh. Whew. When he put his lips on her lips and the way he was demanding that, just their tongues and their lips, that exchange was so intense. That kiss was so intense that they was about to sleep together. I don't blame her, because this Negro, he's tall, he's muscular, he's masculine, this nigga is just all of that. And so, oh my gosh, she said he smelled good, and his lips tasted good, his tongue tasted good, and he liked the way she tasted. And he was like, I gotta go. So he gets up out of there in the nick of time because it was about to go down. But he was like, "I'm putting an end to this because I'm falling for this woman. I'm going to put an end to this." So he starts playing hardball. And because he could feel himself slipping. And it's been a while. It's been a long while since he let these feelings kind of like unfold. Because he didn't even do that with the woman that he was intimate with. And so this is new territory for him, but he's liking it, but in the same token, he don't want to be stupid. So anyways, to make a long story short, they ended up like giving into their attraction. And baby, when they, oh my God, when they made love, when he got inside of that girl, ooh, when he got inside of this woman and he made love to her, he was not playing no games with her. He was telling her, ooh, like the way he was talking to her while he was doing what he was doing to her, he was like, no, I want you to look me in my eyes. And ooh, I was like, this Negro. Round of applause to this Negro. Like the way he was handling her and talking to her. He was not playing, he meant business. He was playing no games with her. And she wasn't playing no games with him either. Like, he couldn't believe how, even though she had that sense of femininity, he liked how she was taking control. And she was just letting him know that I can handle everything you give me. I'm going to throw it back at you. These two, I was like, y'all, I can't with you guys. So what ended up happening, the Negro, he just fell so in love with her. He was like, look, I love you. Will you marry me? She says yes. They get married. Now, they've been married for a year and 6 months, and nobody could find out about their marriage because Diamond wanted to she wanted to protect him. She wanted to protect Jake because that was his sanctuary, Whispering Pines, his property that was secluded from, nobody knows about it. And she knew how much he loved the rancher life. And she didn't want to come in between that. She didn't want to mess that up. So in order to protect him and to protect herself too, because she wanted her privacy, she was the one who came up with the idea to keep their marriage a secret. Jake did not want that. He wanted the world to know that they were married. He didn't want to keep that a secret, but he kind of wanted to respect her. He was like, well, I mean, I'll go along with this, but for how long? And she said, it'll only be for a year. We'll tell everybody after a year. And here we are, a year and 6 months later. Nobody knows. His family don't know. The media doesn't know. And that's why Sterling Hamilton and her were just kind of like playing like they were lovers, because that was a great undercover so nobody could find out what really was going on. Because she wanted him, she really loved that man so much, because she knows once the media finds out about her and him being married, it was going to be some problems. So anyway, we're a year and 6 months in, and you know, Jake is starting to feel some type of way because he's tired of not lying to his family, but keeping their marriage a secret, because he's very close to his family. So he's been missing out on a lot of family functions. And, you know, when she's away, he couldn't really spend time with her because of this whole secret. But he was very supportive of her, and he was very secure. I like how secure he was. He wasn't questioning her if she was cheating or trying to spy on her. He knew that the love that they had and shared was so solid that there was no questions that he had or doubts he had. So I really liked how strong they both were in their marriage. But he started feeling a certain type of way. He was like, you know, she knew, he never told her that, but she picked up on and sensed how he was tired of it. Because, for instance, in particular, this one incident happened with Diamond. Now, she had this fan who was stalking her and following her everywhere she went, and he happened to break into her house. Now, thank God she wasn't there, but when Sterling told Jake this, he was angry. He was like, I'm just tired of us being a secret, because I'm supposed to protect her. I'm supposed to be there for her. And I couldn't be there for her because we have this little secret going on. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back when that happened. And he was just tired of it. And even though he never verbally said it to her, after that incident happened and Sterling took Diamond back to see Jake, she could pick up on how distant he was becoming, and she could just tell by his body language that he was tired of it. And he let her know, like, I'm angry that I was supposed to be there to protect you. She was just trying to explain to him, look, I'm fine, I'm here. But she said, well, this man, I can't imagine what he's going through. I can imagine. He loves me. He wants to protect me. And here I am thinking about myself. I'm the one who wants to keep our marriage a secret, and I haven't considered all that he's sacrificed. So she said, you know what? I'll tell you what, baby. I want to meet your family. And he was like, what? He was shocked. She was like, yeah, I'm serious. I want to meet your family. And not only that, I'm just ready to tell the whole world about us. It's been a year and 6 months, and I've never considered your feelings throughout all of this. And you've been so patient and understanding and so kind. I'm ready now. And he was just glad to hear this. And he was like, okay. So long story short, he ended up gathering his family together, all of his whole entire family, and he tells everyone that he had a secret, that he was married. And they was like, oh my gosh, what, when, how, where, why? And they was like, who? And so of course he said, well, I've been married for a year and 6 months, and I kept it a secret because of who the person is. And it was like, okay, tell us already. And so he told them that his wife was Diamond Swain. And of course everybody was just elated, excited. And when she came down, they was like, oh my gosh, we got a movie star within the family now. And it was just so beautiful. Everybody, they loved her, they liked her, they got along with her very well. She just blended in so well. And so they meet and all of that, and now it's time for the public to meet who she has been hiding for a year and 6 months. The public meets him, and they have all these questions because they're confused. They were like, well, we thought that you were with Sterling Hamilton, so this was a shock to fans. They had mixed feelings about it, but this one crazy stalker, he's not a stalker, excuse me, he's not a stalker. He is kind of obsessed with her. Now, this photographer, who has been actually involved in her life, like ever since she went into the big screen or to the masses, he's always been there. He was one of the photographers the paparazzi who would ask her all these questions. So she knew of him, but this photographer was kind of crazy because, well, actually, the reason why I don't want to say he was crazy, he lost his sister, and his sister looked a lot like Diamond Swain. So every time he would see Diamond Swain, he would think of his sister. Now, his sister died to the hands of a crazy, obsessed, jealous husband, and she was murdered by him. And he wasn't there for his sister. So he feels like, I'm not going to let the same thing that happened to my sister happen to Diamond. Because, of course, when the media gets winds of her being married, he said, I'm going to have to kill who she's with so that she won't get hurt. Since I wasn't there for my sister, and Diamond looks a lot like my sister, he just felt like I'm supposed to protect her. He's kind of crazy. You don't even know her like that to feel that way, but he had his own little things that he was battling with, and he became so obsessed with her. And so he started sending Jake Madras these threats and telling him that he needs to, if he knows what's good for him, he needs to divorce her, blase, blase. He just kept threatening him. Now, Jake was wrong for not telling his wife what was going on, but he didn't want his wife to worry because he knew that his wife was going to blame herself because she's the reason that she wanted to keep their marriage a secret in the first place because of stuff like that that could possibly happen. So she would have blamed herself, and he didn't want that. That's why he didn't tell her. So he kept leaving threats and threats and threats and stuff like that. So the police get involved. Well, the private investigator, an FBI person, starts getting involved or whatever, and they discover, because at first Jake didn't know who it was. He just know that he was receiving threats or whatever. But when they did come out to the public, he noticed this photographer, and he noticed how just kind of like these undertones in the things that he would say when the reporters was asking them questions, especially him. He took a notice. He noticed him. He was like, I don't like the way he asked that question and the way he was looking at me. So he was suspicious of him, but he didn't really know who the person was, threatening him and sending him death threats and stuff like that. But he just put two and two together, and the FBI kind of like confirmed his little suspicions, and they found out it was that same photographer. So anyways, thank God, like the last threat he got, he was on his way to actually go kill him. The FBI called him, and when they called him, they discovered he had all type of ammunition in his trunk and all these guns, and so he meant business. He was on his way to kill Jake, so they lock him up or whatnot. And then now with Diamond Swain's dad, now when he lost his first wife to cancer, the one he was married to for 10 years, he didn't want to get close to anybody else so that he could because he knew one day he was going to lose the person. He just had this in the back of his mind, this fear of getting close to someone. So even though he loved his daughter, he tried to keep this distance, and like he didn't let her call him dad. So he would always tell her to call me Mr. Swain, which I'm like, that's wow, okay, but that's his way of dealing and coping with stuff. So Diamond always wanted love and acceptance from her father, and she never got that. So she didn't understand that. But when that stuff was happening with her or whatnot, he kind of like realized that I'm 72 years old. I'm getting older. I can't do this. I love her. And this is a time where I really need to show her that I love her. Because he never really showed her. Like, even though she kind of knew her dad liked her, but she really didn't know. Because he didn't allow her to call him dad. And he wasn't really showing her that he loved her. Not at all. Like, all he was concerned with is her doing her movies and all of that. But when he got wind, now Diamond actually came to this conclusion, like, okay, I'm married now. I want to have Jake's kids. So I want to be done. I want to give up acting. Because when that popped off, when he was receiving threats and all that, and it got out or whatnot, and when the paparazzi and all of that was getting involved, she made up in her mind that she had been acting for years, even though the goal was to get an Oscar, which actually the latest project that her and Sterling had worked on, they believed that it was Oscar worthy. So she felt like now was the time to stop. She believed that she was going to get an Oscar for this movie and role. And she decided that she didn't want to act anymore. She just wasn't passionate about that anymore. And what she really wanted out of life is just to spend the rest of her life raising her and Jack's kids on Whispering Pines, just secluded and away from everyone. So that's what she decided in her mind that she wanted to do. Now, when her father got wind of that, Diamond's father, Jack, Swain got wind of that, he was upset with her and he wanted to see her. So, of course, she knew that he was going to be angry about her wanting to give up acting. He was like, "You want to give up acting? Like, you need to think about that. You're a very great actress and all this and that." And so it was then when she was angry that her father didn't respect her decisions and trying to treat her like a little girl, knowing that she's not a little girl anymore. She was upset with him, so she ended up storming out of there. And he realized at that point that was a defining moment for him, where he's like, okay, I need to, I'm 72. I need to love on her and I need to show her love and respect her decisions or whatnot. So he ended up having this epiphany, and he ended up loving on his daughter. And I was so glad about that, that she finally got the approval from her father that she wanted all along. So I was happy about that. And then, of course, her father meets Jacob. She meets Jake. He meets Jake. And they get along and all of that. And she ended up getting pregnant. And of course, I don't know the sex of the baby because she just got pregnant. And she ended up announcing to the public that she is pregnant and she's not doing any more movies anymore. She's just going to be a married wife and a wonderful mother to their children. And that was that. That was that. That was the end of that story. But I really liked this. I liked Jake a whole lot. Jacob. Oh, I just liked him, and I like how humble Diamond Swain was. So yeah, it was a great story, and it's no longer a secret love. And that is the end of this book review, and there are more to come. I don't know who's next, but I'm sure that it's going to be pretty interesting. So thank you guys for listening and watching. God bless. Bye-bye.